Welcome back to the Gaming CPA's channel. In today's episode, we are going to be playing some Satisfactory, and of course, well, it took a couple attempts to get it going. My first attempt here ended up being very pixelated and awkward and ugly. It turned out my OBS settings were wrong. I ended up playing an hour long before checking the film footage, and so that was a good waste of time. Attempt number 2, however, well, I may have gotten into a little bit of trouble with the local wildlife, thinking I was, being really cool, but you know, that mother... Anyways, we ended up having to quit that attempt and going into our third attempt. Our third attempt is one we're going to stick with. We're going to go ahead and start off in the Northern Forest. There's some really good resources and segments that I really like in this area. Of course, I end up going to the wrong place to start, but you know, we'll get to that later. So I've been told before that people have wanted to see more gameplay from me. They're like, hey, why don't you do 10-minute long videos? Why don't you do 15, 20, all of that? So we're going to do that. So welcome to the game. We end up spawning in an area with a very creepy noise hanging around. It's going to be probably one of those little obelisk items. I can't seem to find it. Then I see a awesome little yellow slug, which I have to do some maneuvering with conveyor poles and conveyor belts to create kind of a free staircase because I haven't unlocked foundations at this point. This is the early part of the game. Foundations are not unlocked. I don't have anything fancy. This is, in my opinion, the toughest part of the game. Next thing I do is I show off some parkour skills as I go to collect a Christmas present because it is Christmas, or what they like to call Fixmas. And you have Christmas presents and decorations that you can put on your base. All the electric poles are going to have cool little wreaths on them. And then I end up going and collecting a blue power slug because that's going to just help once I get the MAM up and running to unlock those overclocking batteries. So this is where I realized I have an ore scanner and I had totally forgotten about it because I got lost looking for my resources. So I decided to pull out the iron ore scanner and go scan, and sure enough, I'm in the wrong area. So I kind of book it back and slide my way into the area I want to be in, which again is not the actual area I want to be in. I've started here before. It's actually a wonderful place. There's a lot of pure ore nodes, and when I say a lot, I mean, well, there's a lot. And so first we got to clear out some wildlife, of course, but there's all these iron nodes sticking around, and so that's going to be crucial, especially because early game we need iron plates, we need iron rods. And there is a copper ore around here as well, which will be good because that'll allow me to get my wire going. And then let me just demonstrate exactly how much iron ore is around this place. It's a buku amount. There's like 6 iron ore nodes, I think. And I want to say, no joke, I think 4 of them are pure. Maybe all of them are pure. So a lot of iron nodes. So it really is a great starting spot. It's very difficult to build a good-looking factory here. So that's the difficult part. You're almost in like a little canyon. And so building like your actual factory, you kind of have to go tall, like a tower-like, as opposed to maybe more landscape and horizontal, which I prefer the long laid out ones versus just the big towers. Because then you really have to get some belt work going and it can be a little rough. So I discovered that you can zoom out. So this is my fun view, which, by the way, get used to it. You're going to see it a couple more times. But first things first, we obviously have to start getting our iron ore mined. So I skipped the intro. So I automatically start with a handful of miners. So we want to go ahead and start mining those out. Those miners are obviously going to take some power. But yeah, let's go ahead and get those placed on a couple of those pure nodes. These will output 120 iron ore a second. No, not a second, a minute, sorry. So those are going to be awesome. So we place the hub. The hub gives us our tier 1 research. Our goal is to knock out this whole tier 1 research. That is the goal of this episode. So we're going to go ahead and tap into some copper ore since we have that option. And then I believe our next one is going to be, got to smelt the copper ore into our copper ingots. And then we're going to turn that into copper wire. Wire can later be turned into cable, but this is going to be kind of what we start with on the copper side of things. So that way it can start kind of building up as we're going along. And while I'm doing other things and focusing, we can start putting these resources into storage containers. So once I need copper wire, I can come back and grab some as opposed to crafting it by hand, because the whole idea here is to build and automate everything as much as we can. Next thing we're going to do is connect all that power, and then I like to build actually a biomass constructor just to turn some of the leaves that I collect and some of the wood into the biomass. Biomass burns at a much more efficient rate. I struggle at splitting the leaves because it's been a while since I've played, but then I figure out how to split the leaves. Split stacks, you use the, I believe it's the middle button. Then we connect that to power, and we have power. We're now having the biomass automatically going. We're going to have that deposit into a storage container. If you hold control, it will snap into the grid, and that's all connected now. So I believe our next thing we're going to work on is, well, going to go find some limestone. We got to get the concrete going immediately. And while we're over here, we see some bacon. Oh my gosh! And so we got to pick up the bacon. That'll actually be good for the MAM research. It's also a food source and a healing source. So let's go ahead and start mining some limestone up here. Limestone, again, crucial for concrete. Concrete is a big important resource when it comes to factory building, because that is how you build your foundations. And foundations are, that's how you make an organized structure. Speaking of unorganized structures, I apologize. This first episode is going to be a whole lot of spaghetti. It's going to be ugly. You guys are not going to like it. It's not going to look good. And that's the thing about Satisfactory, episode 1, early game, is you don't have the factories built yet. You don't have the foundations to make beautiful factories where stuff is efficient. Everything's lined up perfectly. You're very symmetrical. We don't have that yet, and it'll be a little before that. So next thing we're going to work on is we're going to be smelting some iron plates and some iron rods. Again, just trying to automate all of the early game resources as soon as you can. Again, very ugly placing. Nothing's lined up. It's just, it is not good. But trust me, it will end up being much better down the road. So we're going to go ahead and connect things up so that we can start this whole smelting process and constructing and turn it into iron plates, because that's, and iron rods, because that's important in that early game setup. You can copy and paste settings. I don't really do it here because, well, there's not like, I'm not building a whole lot of places, I'm just building a couple different items. So next thing we're gonna do is connect things up to power. You'll notice I tend to put down a lot of power poles. I don't like to fill up a power pole. If I am going to fill up a power pole, I stick a power pole right next to it. You always want to make sure you have power. Always. Or an extra power line, I should say. Or else you're just going to you have to disconnect a power line to then reconnect a new one. So I'm actually going to connect it to actually power. There we go. Now, of course, we got to check to see how much power this is going to consume. And it's over what my current capacity is. That's not good. That's going to break through the barrier here soon. So I guess we need to move on then and try to figure that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the plus sign. That pops up a little to-do list, which shows you exactly how many resources you need to craft to be able to afford that item. So since you guys wanted to watch me put together a 15-minute video, you get to watch me craft. And while I'm crafting, let's go tell you about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is my, of course, amazing, wonderful wife. She continues to support the channel. She is an amazing support figure for us. And you know what, guys? I could not be doing these videos without her. So big shout out to my awesome, supportive sponsor, my amazing wife. All right, so we're almost done here. I'm going to craft up the plates that we need for this biomass burner. And then after we do that, I'm going to go ahead and craft some rods. I think, craft a little bit extra on the iron ingots, but I just wanted to make sure I had plenty, or I crafted the exact amount. Oopsies. But you see, the nice thing about the wire is if everything went well, boom, I already have some wire in store. In fact, I went from basically 20 to 64. So I got 44 free wire there. We're going to go ahead and place our first biomass burner. This guy, again, consumes biomass similar to the biomass burners that come with the hub. I'm going to go ahead and just craft some biomass. When you have wood, you can make a lot of biomass. It only takes 4 wood, and it spits out, I believe, 20 biomass. So you can really craft that quickly. And so I just do that real quick. I drop some biomass in, and now that it's connected to the power line, which I'm going to do right here, of course I choose, flip it back on, you'll see our new maximum capacity is 70. So we are good at 70 megawatts. I just go ahead and like to clean up the inventory a little bit, put the power slugs in, clean some things out that I'll use in the MAM when I go to research, but I don't really want or need in my inventory at this moment. I do want to build up storage containers, so I'm going to go ahead and start liquidating the resources that I can. I'm definitely going to have to handcraft some because I don't have quite enough iron rods or iron plates yet. So we're going to definitely have to work on that and find some and then handcraft some as well. But again, that's going to be a-okay early game. This is just, it's the struggle, it's real. And guess what? You guys get to watch me craft just about everything I craft in this episode because you know what? Someone said they wanted longer episodes. So you can blame that guy if you don't like it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the episode link in the description down below if there's something else you want to see happen. I appreciate the feedback always, and let me know if there's anything I can do to make these episodes better. Anyways, now we're just going to go ahead and combine our conveyor belt with our constructor so that way our iron plates can go into a deposit. We're going to do the same thing with our iron rods, except for we don't have enough. And what is that weird noise? Well, I don't know. And in the meantime, why don't we just go ahead and grab some green so that our biomass burners can have some fuel. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to unlocking the coal tier, because coal is basically the first kind of fuel where you can have automated power, and that's great. So you don't have to do any more hand feeding biomass burners or creating biomass, and don't have to do any of this manual harvesting. Now, obviously, unlocking the chainsaw is going to really speed up all this manual harvesting, but I really just want to demonstrate some of my, quick clicking abilities here, as I just spam the E button and turn my mouse around in circles. But yeah, looking forward to unlocking coal and that whole power setup. And then I look at my legs. Look at these little guys. That's so weird. I had never seen my legs from that point of view. I do have FOVs set all the way to back, so that might be why. Anyways, we now have enough stuff so we can get the iron rods going into a storage container. So that'll be good for stocking up because, as you can tell, my first milestone is logistics. Takes 150 iron plates, 150 iron rods, and 300 copper wire. Go ahead and restock the biomass, constructor. And go ahead and put the biomass in. We got to keep the power going, you guys. That's the reality. Next thing, what we're going to end up doing is apparently looking around here, not knowing exactly what we're going to be doing. But we're going to go get some another limestone because, like I mentioned earlier, concrete is going to be huge. Concrete is, again, used for those foundations, used for the ramps, used for basically setting up your base, your factory, making things flat, making things organized. So I really just want to start getting this set up as soon as possible and start this whole process right away. So we're going to go ahead and build a miner. So we need to build a portable miner for that. And then we're going to go ahead and put together enough concrete so that we can actually build this miner Mark 1 and put it together. And then again, if we can get things set up, we shouldn't need too many more handcrafting of concrete because we're going to have the miners, and the miners are going to go directly into the constructors. Don't actually need a smelter, so I forget, and I mark that back. And it looks like we just need 2 reinforced iron plates, which requires a couple screws, and then we're going to need a couple cables for it as well. And so we go ahead and we handcraft these items again. Hopefully this will be the only time during the game that we actually have to handcraft things. Turns out I do not have enough iron plates to actually be able to build the reinforced iron plates, so I just decided to create some biomass while I have a workshop open, or a crafting station, and try to remove some of those items from my inventory and get them crafted into some at least reusable fuel. And then we have to go get some iron plates. So we're going to go ahead and run and do that. And we came back. Here we have our constructor. Nope, still need to build the reinforced iron plates. I tend to forget things a couple times. Now, one thing I want to let you know, spoiler, is I forget to do something here. And try to catch it and put it down in the comments before I get to it later. But there's something I forget to do here in setting this up so that I really regret it later on. And you may or may not notice it, but I'm sure you'll see it down the road as I bring it up and mention it. But I'm just going to go ahead and handcraft all the way up to our logistics. The reason being is basically as far as all the different ores near me, they're all tapped into. There are other ores further away, but since I don't have a whole lot going on yet, I really want to unlock the logistics because that's going to get me a splitter. And what that will allow me to do is that will allow me to have a 1 Mark 1 miner that mines 120 iron ore, and that can feed 4 different smelters. It's not feeding 4 different smelters right now because I don't have the splitters. So I am just going to handcraft my way up to getting the logistics so then I can start actually maximizing, optimizing my initial Mark 1 miners on these pure nodes. It's really crucial, and you can really expand your base exponentially, your production exponentially, as you get these splitters and you start to do all this, because the reality is now you go from 1 miner going into 1 smelter and then 1 constructor into 1 miner going into 4 smelters, and then that might be 2 constructors going to iron plates. That could be 3 iron rod constructors, because those only, I believe, take 10 iron ingots. So if you have 2 machines, or I can't remember, they take 15. So you can figure it out, but yeah, you can all of a sudden start to do a whole lot more off of these pure iron nodes. So we want to get there as soon as we can, and frankly, that has to do with the logistics. Since we already have everything maxed out, all the veins tapped into, it really just came down to some manual crafting, so we could at least get to that part, and then we can let the machines kind of craft the rest of the way. So we crafted a whole bunch of iron plates, a whole bunch of iron rods. We went and grabbed some more wire, and we need 3 more iron rods, which shouldn't be too bad. It'll just take a couple seconds here to craft them. And then once we have those, we can put those in and send that milestone off, which will unlock our first item, and that is logistics. Now we get to go ahead and watch it go off. I love how I stick myself in a little tree here, or a little bush, as I try to get a good camera angle. Always enjoyed how Kibitz used to always watch these things go off, but of course we use our special camera angle, which really sends it off there really far. So that is the first step complete in our tier 1 goal today. I'm going to go ahead and select the next milestone, which is going to be base building. We want to get these foundations going ASAP. We're not actually going to use any in this episode. We're basically just going to unlock all tier 1. But right now we have the splitters unlocked. So we're going to go ahead and split off this kind of, I guess, let's just call it a Mark 1 miner. And we're going to try to split it into 4. And I'm hearing something weird. Alright, never mind. We're just going to go ahead and try to just do this anyway. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a splitter and split it into 2 additional splitters, which apparently I'm missing the resources for. So let's go ahead and craft some at a craft bench. But then what we're going to do is we're going to turn the 1 splitter into 2 splitters. And then from those 2 splitters will come out 2 lines from there, basically giving us, again, 4 different smelting lines. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this one kind of straight away, and we're going to go in an opposite direction. I do try to set it up originally thinking that I can just do a cool little 90-degree angle, but instead I just choose to go with just a straight line. And then from here I can go ahead and lay out 2 smelters. Of course, we're out of resources because it's early game, and yeah, there's a little spider hanging out here. I thought I heard something. Alright, we'll go ahead and take him out, get his stinger remains. And we're going to go ahead and snag some more resources to start crafting. Get that little peacock out of here. So that way we can hopefully start getting our next setup going as far as the fully kind of optimized iron node. And we can do the same thing on the copper as well. In which case we actually will end up doing this because I noticed our copper wire just isn't utilized whatsoever. I believe copper wire, they produce 30 ingots, and I think it only takes 15. So you can literally, if you can just even split off 1 smelter, you can form 2 copper wire lines, which will literally double your output. And it doesn't require any additional copper ore going into a smelter. So I decided, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go ahead and get a couple reinforced iron plates, because I know I'm going to have to build more constructors down the road. So I go ahead and I craft up, I believe, 4 of those reinforced iron plates. So that way we can go back and we can deal with that whole constructor over with our copper wire and try to maximize this. Or maybe, yeah. So we got to split off here, so the iron ingots, and then we'll build another constructor right here, right next to it, facing the exact same way. And again, this one actually, I believe I turn into wire. That's what I do. Yes, I'm a genius. So cables and wire, copper wire can turn into cables. And cables are used for basically when you create wires for power lines. That's what it's made out of. So we end up getting some resources, and we get our first cables coming on out. Grab a couple of those, grab some more wire, so that way I can go build some more smelters. Let's see. Of course, let's see what we can drop off. Nothing. All right, we're back up top. Let's start smelting a little bit. So we go ahead and I set up 2 smelters. I like to do 90-degree angles, but obviously without the foundations, there's no hope. This is the early game, early base. I do end up though copying and pasting settings. So if you're on an item, you can hit Control C. It will copy the recipe, and then you can hit Control V and paste it. And of course, we're out of iron plates, or not iron plates, but reinforced iron plates. Go figure. That's one that will take a little bit because we will have to unlock the assembler before we can have that process automated. So we're going to hand do reinforced iron plates on a different base of mine. I believe I am crafting, man, I'm trying to think. It's like 200 and some a minute. I had fully 100% optimized, I believe, one pure vein, or maybe it was two pure veins of ore, and crafted a wonderful, fun little, I believe it was 3 stories tall, reinforced iron plate factory, and it was a blast. It's overlooking the ravine. It's awesome. So here we go. We have the constructor set up. We're going to set one of these to iron plates, and we're going to set the other one to iron rods. So that way we continue to have both of them being made. That's just very important in my mind to have the variety going. So as you can tell, that only takes 15 iron ingots, and it produces 10 iron rods. So theoretically, I can split this one as well. It's very similar to the copper wire, where it only takes half the amount of ingots to basically construct its resource. So we're going to go ahead and try to build another constructor. And this time, it's not that we're out of reinforced iron plates, we're out of the cable. So we get to go pick some of that by doing our fun little sliding technique. And of course, I always grab copper wire while I'm there. We build a constructor. This is just, it's so ugly. This is literally my least favorite part of the game, is all this early game stuff. Next thing we do is we got to connect all the power to it. We don't want to leave items unpowered. So we're going to go ahead and connect everything to power real quick and get it all set up. And again, I like to place a lot of power poles just to be safe, because I know something's bound to go wrong if I don't. And so we're just going to go ahead and connect this to over here, and then the last constructor there. And as you can tell, we are going to run out of power, and sure enough, literally seconds after I realize that's about to happen, it happens. Luckily, we have a lot of biomass, so all I have to do is really construct another biomass burner, which I did just by grabbing extra resources. So we're going to go ahead and place that, and then we're going to put all the resources in it, biomass, fill it up, and then connect it to power, of course. And from there, we're going to set up a new power pole and restart the grid. And now our maximum capacity is probably around 100 and I believe 5, maybe a little bit more than that. So now on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up the 2 smelters. First, I got to split off the iron ore and send it into 2 different lines. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So there we go. I try to make it 90 degrees. I realized we need to deconstruct this area because it's just not going to fit in there. So we go ahead and deconstruct the constructor, and we just go ahead and deconstruct the bin as well, or the container, just because it's not all necessarily going to fit, and it'd be easier to start clean slate. And man, it just makes you wish for those foundations so bad, because everything just doesn't look good. Oh my goodness. And we got the iron ingots. I copied the setting ahead of time, knowing I'm about to place another smelter. And then I can just go ahead and paste those iron ingot settings right on into it. And so let's go ahead and do that. Boop, settings pasted. It's just that easy. And that was a fun update they had. And I highly recommend using it, especially when you're just spamming a whole lot of the same in a base and you're just building it up. Just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Highly recommend. So next thing we're going to do is obviously place our constructor, so that way we can build up some more iron plates, get that kind of going again. We're going to connect up the power pole. We're going to set up a new power pole because of course we kind of have that. We're going to try to do a constructor, but obviously we don't have enough, so we're going to build a craft bench, get ourselves our 2 reinforced iron plates. And from there, we're going to hopefully build that second constructor, and I believe this one we are going to make some iron rods with, because, you know, oh, never mind. I forgot to actually build the reinforced iron plates because, duh, I did all the screws, but not the actual reinforced iron plates. Oops, my bad. But you know what? Mistakes happen, you guys. That's the beautiful part about the game, is you can always rebuild again. So I try to line things up, and without the foundations, it is really hard to do on the grass, especially from the side. So, but we end up creating, it looks like, some more iron plates. Those are used, the iron plates are used for the conveyor belt, so those are like big time. You want to use those as much as you can. I can't figure out a place to store the storage container, so I just send it super far away, and then I'll build a merger that'll get a little bit, it'll merge the 2 lines into one a little bit closer, but it's just, yeah, it's too difficult to get things to line up. Because if it's too steep of an angle, then it won't work, and so we got to make sure that we give enough room for these terrible angles that we're trying to build on, to try and get things to fit in. So, but everything looks like it's doing good. Got to hook up the power line, of course, the constructor, and that looks good. So we have all that all powered up, and this is what I was talking about, you guys. The limestone wasn't building because I forgot to connect it to power the whole time. So that whole time I built this maybe like 20-30 minutes ago, and it was not producing concrete. I needed it to produce concrete so bad, and it wasn't producing it. So that was not good. I ended up getting some concrete from the other place though. Got some more resources. Now all I have left is field research. Let's go ahead and watch this guy escape and you know, take off and leave the planet as in our own special camera view angle. Imagine playing the game in this angle. Like, what if this is how you had to look at the game just to play it? That would be a fun series. I don't even know if that's possible. I would just be dead. Anyways, we got the foundations unlocked. We're not going to put any down yet. Again, we need a lot of concrete for that. But again, we're just trying to get through tier 1, unlock everything that we can, and see what we can do. We end up putting down a new biomass burner because, you know, we had a constructor not working over there, and our power is getting low because of all the buildings we have. As you can tell, our maximum consistency was up there almost at the supply. It was 97, and I believe we were at about 100 was our capacity. So, whoo, barely escaped that. We're going to go ahead and start collecting and see if we can get this whole field research taken care of. So, we're just going to go around, collect some, and, you know, I think what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to finish it off, you guys, by just hand hitting some screws. So, you know, but while we do that, you guys, I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much for watching the channel. This was the first week of the January VODs, where I posted 4 different VODs of 4 different playthroughs of 4 different games. I'm going to try to do that for 4 weeks. So this was our week 1. We're going to try to do it another 3 weeks. Again, the same games: Riftbreaker, Timberborn, Factorio, and Satisfactory. I'm going to do my best to do longer videos on the other ones. Early game is just difficult for me to really get a good amount of content, and I only had a limited amount of time to do things. So hopefully this next one, I'm going to try to make them a little bit longer, a little more engaging, a little more exciting. But thank you guys so much for all the views you have given, all the support, all the fun comments. If there's anything, again, that you would like to see me do, or might create more engaging content, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, you guys, and you enjoyed the video and want to leave a thumbs up, that would be appreciated. And of course, if you want to hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell next to it, so that way you get notified when I post more VODs or more content to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated, you guys. We finished off tier 1. We're going to send off our little rocket, and with that, we're going to send it off to you guys as well. We will catch you again up here on the coming Monday with our new VOD of Riftbreaker. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful and amazing day. Bye.